May I say, without any discourtesy to our managers, past or present, far more in the field of background of training than most managers. He was a graduate of the University of Cincinnati Law School, and a real one. He was a very able chap, and he had many ideas. As a tactician, he was perfect. He was a midget, you know, in size, but mentally he was almost a giant. The game was changing, rapidly changing, and it was these men who were contributing to it, but chiefly, almost alone, Mr. Byron Bancroft Johnson, the new president of the American League. By 1919, baseball had embarked upon a new prosperity. The world was said to have been saved for democracy, you'll recall. And at home, people celebrated by going to the ballpark as never before. The 1919 World Series, the great teams, the Chicago White Sox and the Cincinnati Reds. Chicago highly favored, and then everything happened. The White Sox faltered, or did they? This series is lost to Cincinnati. It seems a natural upset, and yet, a year later, the series is baseball's biggest scandal, due to one man and one man only, the insistence of Ben Johnson that something was wrong. And then came Judge Landis into the picture. He relieved Mr. Johnson of all authority and really expelled all the guilty players for lifetime, including a very drastic penalty that is almost ununderstandable by some of us in America in regard to Joe Jackson. These were the 20s, and the young nation letting go. The past was past. The byword was action, and what happened was scintillatingly attractive. A new breed of heroes accommodates the scene. On the range, Tom Mix. In the streets of reality, the bootlegger. The hero in reverse. The angry young man from Manassas, Jack Dempsey. In the glamorous rectangle of tennis, Bill Tilden. Golf provided the champion in Bobby Jones. These would one day be called baseball's golden years. Yet in the 20s, only one chief clown, one chief hero, one chief everything in the game, George Herman Ruth. The Bambino, the Kid, the Sultan of SWAT. Baseball needed a revival of faith. And in the 20s, Babe Ruth was exactly that. A necessary focal point of public confidence and adulation. He was the Babe. Honest, outspoken, and with the Babe to believe in, baseball went on. For Babe Ruth, every honor. From New York's Mayor Jimmy Walker to what the papers called the Great Unwashed. People came to pay him homage, to watch him practice the art of something he seemed almost to have invented, the home run. With the exception of 1925, he traveled the land, engaged in breaking records. He made 714 home runs in his career, a total that is probably matchless. And if he was adored by adults, their offspring paid him double homage. For in the years of his supremacy, and afterwards as well, the children of the nation truly adored the Babe. A love affair, aided by all the trappings of publicity, and it was in need of none, for the adoration was sincere. And it's not too much to say that Babe Ruth always responded so warmly. Oh, and the press, Damon Runyon, and Grantland Rice, Granny, and Arthur Bugs Bear. They spanked him, but they loved him. They reported his triumphs and his ills. Often they disapproved, but they too were in love with the Babe. Inevitably, his glory was supplemented by celluloid, Hollywood. A career punctuated with a series of monumental paychecks, distinguished only by The spectacular ineptitude of the leading man. The movies were only a temporary and profitable interlude. For George Herman Ruth was by nature, by inclination, and aptitude, above all, and almost exclusively, a player of the game of baseball. And in the year of 1927, no longer the slim boy, he was threatening his own home run record of 1921. In the 154th game, the very last game of the 1927 season, the object of all this attention hit his 60th home run. This was perhaps the apex of baseball appeal in the 1920s.
In these days,
President of the United States, no matter what his name or what his party, or what his governmental duties, or even his athletic prowess, he takes upon himself a task for which he is universally envied. A happy ritual, this throwing out of the first ball. In the year of 1933, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt performed the deed, happiness was in short supply. Grim years, the 30s, a rough and terrible time. Depression was the word. Bread lines, apples on street corners. Oh, all the cliches of economic upheaval. With baseball, upheaval as well. Attendance down, receipts dropping off. But baseball still optimistic, changing. Lou Gehrig was in his prime now. And Babe Ruth was almost America's #1 export. $80,000 a year, a lot of money at that time. More than former President Hoover, just defeated in 32, of whom the Babe was said to comment, well, I had a better year than he did. So he had. And of course, fresh faces. Baseball producing its new heroes. Among them, a young Cardinal pitcher named Jerome Dean.
Well, I hope that I can beat him today. I think it's a great honor for me to pitch the opening day of the World Series of 1934.
1934, the culmination of much planning, much hard work, and some luck. Frankie Frisch managing the club, the Deans, Pepper Martin, Joe Medvick, Delancey, Collins, and a shortstop named Leo DeRocher. I might name every man. Frank Graham of the New York Sun called it the Gas House Gang. And what a gang it was, but withal, a gang of gentlemen. In the 1934 World Series, the Cardinals fought the Tigers down. And in that last game in Detroit, Dizzy Dean pitched an 11-0 shutout. That was the same day that the Cardinal left fielder, Joe Medvick, came sliding into Marv Owens, the Tiger third baseman, hard and high. Detroit was outraged. They showed it with a complimentary shower of fruit and vegetables and bottles. Commissioner Landis called it garbage. It was his decision that Medvick be taken out of the game for reasons of his own safety. Fierce moments. Fierce. Later, in the final play of the game, Owens of Detroit grounds out to short, and the game is over. The Cardinals over Detroit, 11-0. The Gas House Gang, champions of the world. Like Ruth, neither of the Dean boys was overly afflicted with the gift of modesty.
Well, Paul, we ought to win 45 ball games this year.
I think we will, Diz. If you'll win 35, I'll take care of the rest.
Nice going, boy.
It was Yankee time again. Joe McCarthy's Yankees now. And in the American League in the late 1930s, it seemed that Yankees and excellence in baseball were synonymous. Then in 1939, a bitter circumstance for baseball, the departure of Lou Gehrig. At 16, he led his high school team to the Greater New York City Championship. Always in evidence, the famous Gehrig grin. In 1925, a rookie with the greatest team of the time, the New York Yankees. A team composed of many stars. Gehrig's first time up at bat, he hit a double and 2 singles. From that time, for 14 years, Lou Gehrig would be first baseman of the New York Yankees. Yet his playing ability took second place to his sportsmanship. For Lou Gehrig was genuinely a nice guy, truly a gentle man. For many years, he played in the shadow of Ruth, the Phantom Star, eternally the Crown Prince, never the King. In a lesser man, resentment would have been routine, but Lou Gehrig was not that kind of a man. But Lou knew his own share of fame. Though he appeared shy, there were times when he'd clown and carry on with the best of them. But mostly, Lou Gehrig played ball. Then, Tuesday, May 2nd, 1939, after 2,130 consecutive games, Lou Gehrig pulled himself out of the Yankee lineup. For Lou Gehrig was suffering from a rare form of paralysis. That July 4th was one of baseball's saddest days. He was reunited at Yankee Stadium with his teammates. Deeply grieved by his tragic illness, they had gathered to honor a man who had so faithfully honored the game.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.